These ready-mixed drinks are the fastest growing segment of the Australian alcohol market. A $1.7 billion national product, they're becoming the drink of choice among young people, especially young women.
In the old days, it was the effort made to go and get the spirits out of the cupboard and go and get a glass and you get a mixer and some ice. Today, it's just readily available in a can or a bottle. It's cool in the fridge, it's portable, and it's available in a lot of different premises, so it's just ease of access, I guess.
Carlton United Breweries, which is having its national sales conference in Newcastle, says its share of the RTD or ready-to-drink market is growing rapidly with new products entering the market. But the trend has triggered alarm bells with health workers.
I think the biggest problem is they are well marketed. They don't look at all potentially harmful. They look no more harmful than a Fanta or a lime cordial, and they certainly don't taste like they've got alcohol in them.
CUB denies it's encouraging younger drinkers.
And we have a real responsibility as a company around the way we not only manufacture but we market, sell, and we really care about the way our products are consumed. So we certainly steer well clear of anybody underage.
They are the forensic scientists of the highway, the specialist crash investigation police who have the challenge of unravelling the split-second chain of events that leads to tragedy. But their painstaking investigations seldom lay blame on the road. The trigger is almost always something a driver has or hasn't done.
It only takes one person to do the wrong thing and then it has a cascade effect, as we've seen in recent time, where a number of vehicles can be involved and a number of deaths and injuries.
There's no doubt that if the highway was like this all the way to Queensland and opposing traffic was separated, fatalities would be reduced. But even with adequate government funding, that will take many years. And in the meantime, drivers are turning work zones into crash zones.
There's a frightening number of people dying at roadworks, particularly where the traffic's coming out of a high speed restriction, say 80s or 100 kilometres an hour, and coming down to the 60 kilometre zone.
1/3 of the highway is now 4 to 5 lanes. But where those featureless stretches end is the place to be wary.
The road safety message we would have for people is to realise that they've come from an area where they haven't had to be particularly too vigilant on their driving and have been able to relax a little bit, driving at the highway speeds, into an area where there's a lot of activity and a lot of distractions. They also have to be mindful of the fact that it's not only distractions in their car, but distractions for the drivers that are around them.
Tomorrow night, when just keeping the rules is not enough. At 200 kilometres an hour, things can go wrong in a split second. Yet that is how fast you pass a vehicle coming from the opposite direction on the highway. Sitting in the quiet comfort of a modern vehicle, it's easy for drivers to lose the feel for how quickly they're moving. While they may concentrate on staying under the speed limit, it seems many do not give the whole business of driving the attention it requires.
People just aren't paying attention, looking around at the kids, looking at other things. They find themselves in the gravel, overcorrect, the car rolls or hits an object, they're the accidents we're attending.
An example of how quickly things can go wrong is this intersection near Kew, where there have been 2 fatal crashes and other serious collisions, cross-traffic failing to treat the highway as they might a railway crossing. It's the kind of hazard drivers on the highway need to consider. A lift off the accelerator and covering the brake might be the tiny advantage that avoids a crash if someone does pull out unexpectedly. The Raleigh bypass south of Coffs Harbour is a wonderful piece of road, but where the highway again becomes 2 lanes, it's a crash zone. Not because of the road, but because drivers just aren't concentrating on the road ahead. Senior Constable Bentley has a surprising profile of those likely to be involved in holiday period crashes.
The most common accident we're going to see on the highway is going to be the people who say, I've had a good night's sleep, I'm going to stop in 2 hours, I'm not going to speed, I'll wear my seatbelt. All I have to do is get in the car and I'll arrive where I want to be, safe and sound. Well, sadly, they're the vast majority of accidents we're doing. People who think they're doing the right thing, for whatever reason, aren't paying attention. They find themselves in trouble and it honestly ends in tragedy.
Tomorrow night, it's a good road, straight and level, but one of the most dangerous places on the North Coast. It's easy to imagine that a notorious black spot would be a twisty, narrow section of road. But these few kilometres of well-surfaced, relatively straight road have an horrific record for fatal crashes. The strip of concrete road is the bypass that skirts Brunswick Heads on the far north coast, and this 90km/h section has actually seen accidents increase as the highway to the north and south has been improved. There have even been instances where drivers have apparently forgotten they are no longer on a divided section of road.
We've got a situation where we've got dual carriageway heading north and we've reduced down to 1 lane either direction, and people just are not adjusting to the conditions around them. The biggest thing is just to look around you and to watch the conditions around you. Everything's changing constantly. You're going from 100 zones into 90 zones, into 80 kilometre zones. You just have to readjust your driving and be conscious of what's around you all the time.
A good exercise to maintain concentration on a trip is to look out for the telltale skid marks and bent safety barriers where other drivers have failed to read the road. This battered barrier, where the southbound lanes go from 2 to 1 near the Sawtell turnoff just south of Coffs Harbour, is a great example of drivers reacting at the last minute. Admittedly, the road signage doesn't give much advance warning that the highway's about to lose a lane, but even so, it's inattention that leads to trouble. Particularly at holiday time, many city drivers get into trouble on the highway because their vehicles are more heavily laden than normal.
Minivans and situations such as that, people just try to have as much gear with them on the holidays they can get in, and it there changes the handling of that particular vehicle. Monday to Friday they can handle it pretty well, but other times when there's more people in the car and more luggage in the car, it handles totally different.
And the daily commute to work doesn't exactly prepare a driver for the demands of high-speed driving on the highway.
We've got a lot of people that are driving Monday to Friday in 60-kilometre areas in built-up traffic that takes them 15-20 minutes to go 5 to 10 kilometres. We're up here, we're doing 100 kilometres an hour, and the distance factors have changed dramatically from there.
Tomorrow night, the overtaking zones that can be an invitation to disaster. Over the next few days, as holidaymakers head up the coast, tens of thousands of vehicles will travel the Pacific Highway. A small error by just one of those drivers can trigger disaster. A divided highway would reduce the risk of deadly head-on crashes. But even if enough taxpayers' funds are allocated to that task, for many years drivers will have to deal with 2- and 3-lane sections. And that's where patience is the best protection. Crash investigators repeatedly attend serious crashes at overtaking lanes. The stretch known as Tabby Mobile between Grafton and Ballina is a typical danger zone.
There's nothing particularly wrong with this piece of road. The surface is okay, the vision's clear, but it's driver behaviour, the compulsion to get past the car in front before the overtaking zone ends, that too often turns it into a kill zone.
Numerous sections of the highway have 3 lanes where traffic in both directions can overtake legally, but there's always the chance opposing vehicles might pull out at the same instant, especially if both are travelling too close to a large vehicle and the vision ahead is obscured. Even where a manoeuvre like this doesn't lead to a head-on crash, there have been instances where drivers have pulled back out of the centre lane so violently they've lost control and then crashed into an innocent party coming the other way. While 3-lane zones increase overtaking opportunities, there's probably a case to eliminate many of them in the interests of safety, especially when you take a close-up look at some of the consequences. Fatigue can erode concentration and judgment, and regular stops are a proven safety factor. But it is an illusion that you can eat fatigue away. In fact, excessive intake of high sugar foods can upset some individuals' blood sugar levels and lead to drowsiness. Avoiding dehydration by drinking water is important. A driver taking the job seriously is confronted by a constant stream of information. What's happening at these roadworks? Is someone going to pull out from this roadside stall? What's that other driver doing? And that's all tiring.
Just because you can drive for 2 hours, as the RTA says, doesn't mean you don't have to think for 2 hours. You've really got to concentrate for 2 hours. You concentrate on anything for 2 hours, you're going to be really tired at the end of it. People who stop after 2 hours that don't feel tired haven't been concentrating on their journey, and that's what we're finding is causing so many of the accidents on the highway.